Yep, this is happening. I've been playing a lot more Kaizo, so we're going to the next challenge. And one of these was quite possibly the most difficult thing I've ever done on this channel. But let's not think about that yet. Breaking news, once we dump our pile of moons, we have over 500 and the final Darker Side challenge is unlocked. But I think it would only be right to save that for last. So let's head to Snow Kingdom. And I realize this kingdom looks awesome from up here, but it's probably going to make things quite a bit more complicated. Before we begin down there, though, I might as well go ahead and do Snowdram. I've been doing this jump for so long, just for this moment right here. Got that down, no problem. And there were also quite a few purples in this area, both behind the Odyssey and also on ground level behind all the icicles like usual. But as for the other moons around here, I did happen to stumble into this one, the bunny around the platforms, which does kind of hop into the waves now, but it was still pretty easy to tag him. Then at this point, it's about time we open the moon rock. But before we continue with those, I wanted to do something. See, we just got the tourist moon in Metro, and the next place they would visit is Cascade. And coincidentally, the painting in this place brings you to the Cascade Island. I already got the moon at the top of here, but I gotta find where the iconic duo decided to do their sightseeing. I looked around for a minute and saw nothing. This kingdom isn't that big, so that was slightly unusual. But then I thought I should probably break stuff, because of course that's a spot they would be. And sure enough, in the giant block all the way in the corner, there they were, car and all. Great, now we truly have everything for this place finally, and can meet up with them when they grab their meal for the next stop. Back to Snow now to get what this is about. And I did find a few moons that were pretty close together. I made a terrifying dive to grab this guy right over the low wave. I tried activating the notes and getting those. Usually these are a lot more difficult in this version, but it didn't feel like it went on too long, and all of the notes were pretty easy to get in the time limit as we headed over the hill. I'm definitely gonna need that confidence boost. And next we can head into the small room on the corner because there lives a Koopa with a trace walking minigame. Honestly, nothing too much worse about this. There's just a few spinies in our path as we make a triangle around the room. The first time, Cappy could just be thrown to move them out of the way, and the second time, they were all grouped together and kind of followed me in the perfect way. Some damage was taken at points, which got me knocked off the line, but it was still possible to get that passing score. Continuing to go around the outside of the map gets us to the first timer challenge, spawning in some circle platforms, which is obviously made harder by the poison. This one took a few tries to figure out. In all challenges like this, you have to plan out where you're gonna jump because you have to go pretty high to make it over these. I realized you could get just enough time to triple jump off the first few to get over one wave, then just ground pound jump for the rest. But the timer is also very tight, and that resulted in another miss. Okay, so I also had to time when to go so that I wasn't waiting for the waves to move into position. Then do the same few tricks, and if all of that is done right, then the moon can be obtained. Moving even more over on this part, we made a Lakitu sighting. Clearly, there's no fish here where it usually is because of the waves, but in this case, the waves are actually helpful. The cloud just floats right over them, so once again, we can break this capture free if it's a boundary and go anywhere. I started looking for the fish, but got distracted when I noticed he was riding up the wall ever so slightly. And after keeping at it for long enough, I made it all the way to the top and got a great view of here. It would be awesome if we were supposed to do this, but something tells me that's not the answer. Let's find that moon later. For now, let's use a different capture, the Blowy Joeys. And I got a shard right next to him. Bringing him over to the puzzle room means we can move the block, and there's a glowing spot just floating in the air. That means the block just has to be slid right in the middle to be able to ground pound that point. Easy peasy. And inside that door is the updated puzzle. There's a lot more blowies to make this more inconvenient, but there's also a lot of additional bricks in the middle that actually help out. By switching between captures and stopping the blow of some of them at a time, this is hardly any more challenging. Back where we were, I'll go ahead and grab shard number 2 along with activating timer challenge number 2. Also exactly like before, but with the inherent challenge of the kingdom design. I tried jumping directly to the poles from here and it didn't work, so I thought using the whirlwind on the side would be better. And yeah, you can just dive right over to those using that method. Still pretty simple. Back on the ground, we have a moon around the corner outside the hat door. Once that's collected, we can go inside said hat door for a fun challenge. This is the freezing water sub-area, and it actually just has one very simple change. There's blocks right here, meaning we cannot enter the cave. So there's only one way to reach the end, and it's gonna require some style. We gotta make a giant leap directly there, and you can do that with a triple jump. Although you don't have Cappy, and it's difficult to build speed with the limited space. Even if you get the jump, it is really precise, so positioning is key. It took me a minute to get it just right, but I was able to see exactly what I wanted. And now that moon at the end is available, and thankfully this side is not blocked off, so we just need to swim all the way up without freezing. Then go to the top and grab the secret moon. Done with that, and now let's head back to where the Odyssey is and grab Shining on Low, which is now underneath. Then we have the last timer challenge, which is a P-switch. The moon happens to spawn at the top of the giant ice tower over in the middle, and I thought I would have to do some crazy jump or really fast movement to get over there in time, but actually, despite the blowy joeys moving quite slowly, there's enough time to just ride the high one over to the moon before it disappears. After I got it, I hopped back to the outside to check out these pools, since we don't have snow cheeps for them anymore. Well, in one of them, I found the third shard, and in the other one, there was a familiar shadow. The fish had been spotted. Great, now I just have to get Lakitu back out and take him all the way over there. Then we can catch that guy from under the freezing cold water. I think I'm actually doing him a favor there. And now I wanted to do Koopa freerunning since we were right here. The last one I had to do was absolutely miserable, but I knew there was no way this could be worse. And it turns out the goal didn't even move. So once again, the challenge simply comes from the waves in this kingdom, since that's the only difference. This makes sense. There's not much space to work with on the outside, and the Odyssey doesn't show up here, so it's not like the finish can be up on the Snowdram platform. Although, if it was possible, that would have been awesome. It took me a bit to get in the flow of it, but then I figured out my route. I went over to the left whirlwind, which is a bit slower, but there's more platforms to help not hit the poison. Well, once I figured that out, I was able to get both the regular cup and the master cup back to back. Way less intense than the last race, and now it's time we try something a bit harder. But first I wanted to grab this shard on the blue platforms, because why not? And now we go into the dashing sub-area. Right away I noticed a problem. There was only one rocket flower at the start. That was it for the entire room, and that's an issue because you need the speed to get to the top of the ramp at the end. So this is all we have to work with, which means it's time to break out a trick called a Rocket Flower Refresh. If you have a Rocket Flower, before it dies out, you can jump, spin throw, and ground pound. The flower will stay on Cappy, and you can collect it again, resetting the timer. And there's basically no limit to how many times you can do this. Conveniently, Mario can also go underwater. He just has to resurface before collecting it. Doing this over and over again while finding the right time to do so allows us to bring the flower across all the water and refresh once more just before the ramp to run up the whole thing. Although this is spaced just so perfectly that we can make it up here, but there's not enough time to refresh again, meaning we can get the main moon, but we have no speed left to run up the final ramp past this point. But what we do have is a few additional blocks to climb up the old-fashioned way. The jumps are all pretty far between each other, and there's barely any place to stand. Then we get up to this platform with seemingly nothing left. How the heck do you get enough height at this point? Well, I thought I would have to do something crazy, like a triple jump right at the edge, then cap bounce over to the side, but that never worked. It was close, but not happening. Turns out the way you're supposed to do it is rolling, because for some reason, somersaulting into the wall for long enough allows you to just magically glide on up. That is actually pretty cool. And even cooler, we got that secret moon, so now we can leave. Then we get a lot more easy ones around this area. There's one in the entrance to Shiveria just above the waves. I felt a rumble in the plant pot, and it didn't seem suspicious at first. I was questioning if that's how it always was, but I did ground pound it and there was a moon in there. Taking a blowy Joey over to this spot and blowing the block like normally intended, we can find Captain Toad inside there. What's with all of the NPCs being stuck inside stuff? Then after quite a bit of searching, I did manage to find the last shard way back behind the Koopa room. Finally claimed the full moon for that. Almost done with the outside of the kingdom, but we just have 2 more sub-areas. One of which involves the pot I was at a minute ago. Just have to take the seed from down here up to it. That's a challenge in itself. That thing sits there for too long and it gets swallowed. So I had to unplug the wind first, then get a little speed just before running with it all the way over just in time. Heading into the area itself, pretty simple change. There's just no bouncy flowers, which means much less airtime. We just have to platform across everything ourselves and jump to the gusts of wind in the back. Only if you fall, you don't die. You go back to the overworld and have to plant the seed again, which I'd say is worse. I did make a mistake at one point, but hey, you know what? Mistakes are a part of life and nothing to be ashamed of. And next time, I got back up and did the proper jump I had to do to make it all the way to the wind. But once you get here, it makes things a bit easier, although you still need a good amount of control. You could get stuck in a position where you can't throw Cappy off your head anymore, but if you do it just right, you can make it all the way to the lone moon at the end. And now for the last sub-area, which is in a moon pipe. The Poison Flower Road Room, except we got no flower roads to work with at all. Instead, we have to do some interesting jumps. You may have noticed that there are platforms in the form of these rings. Now, you can land on them, but you also can't. You have to jump right away, or else you'll just slide off. This also means landing on them at all is not easy. It took me a bit of time to be able to make any progress with some of them. This set consists of some that are pretty far and increase in elevation. It was a struggle to get this part just right, but I was able to find my footing and jump myself up and around to the lone question block in the back. High above that thing is 1 moon for the area, and I wondered how to continue along after this, but then I realized I could just go back over and wall jump up, of course. One last trick to do, and that's the jump to capture the bonsai bill. Ah, shoot, I messed it up. Psych! I meant to do that. Now we're home free and can fly straight to the end. Finally finished. All the moons on the outside have been collected, so now it's time to go into Shiveria. Hopefully these are a bit easier. First things first, I realized I never found the hint art behind the boxes, so I should go ahead and look at that. Okay, I think I know where to look in Lost for that thing. We'll worry about that later. For now, let's make a huge jump up by the pipe and grab a high above entrance to Shiveria. And now we have some simple ones out by the town. Peach just chilling over in the hallway because why not? The ground pound spot in the corner was put under these crates, turning them all shiny, and the treasure chest was now on the wall high above the upper deck. So just like we usually do, take care of those, and now it's time for the 4 rooms. Each of them have a new moon in them from the moon rock, so let's take care of those. A poison blowy room first. I got 2 in here already, so just 1 to find, and it was easy to spot in the back corner above this guy, so another high jump needed to grab that. And of course, I picked up quite a few purples while in here. And next is the Rango room, and the technical name is not Snowy Mountain anymore, now it's a Windy Mountain, because if you remember these things at the peak, it makes getting the Squirming Moon a lot harder. If you miss, it takes a minute for Cappy to return, and if you do hit it, the ground pound might be delayed too long. long. You could probably see the frustration building from just watching this. I wasn't even here for that long, and it got annoying fast. So we got that done, and hey, turns out I never got the main secret moon in here, which is just right behind the whole mountain. So nice. 2 other rooms, and both of them weren't too remarkable. In the Bitefrost room, instead of the ground pound spot being in the freezing water, and now it's on the platform of one of the enemies. So it's a good thing he didn't eat it when it popped out. And for the Goomba room, you still stack 10 Goombas, and it's not too different at all. That's all the rooms, but what about the most important one? The race room. There's definitely gonna be some stuff hiding all the way down here in the waiting area. And the first thing I did was look up above, because, you know, I thought I'd check if they did anything with Smallant's good spot. Turns out they did, because up by the ledge where I just fell down is the crate. I mean, all this down here is technically one area, so that makes sense. Handy for myself how I've been practicing getting up here since I've seen it done so many times on hide and seek. And now we just jump and slide on over once we reach the uppermost ledge, because there is barely any room to stand on those. But we can get all the way over and break open that box for the moon. And next, I'll try out the Class S race for this course, because I'm gonna need to warm up for what's coming later. This race is pretty short, and I've done it many times for challenges, so hopefully it goes well. Unfortunately, I didn't get everything right the first time, and it ended with a time of 55, which is usually pretty solid, but you gotta do better here. On the second try, though, that's where everything came together, and I managed to get possibly my best time ever with a 53. Okay, I accomplished at least one of these today. Just a few more regular ones to do. And now over in the holding room above the door is the hat on top of the Shiverian hiding there. So that's everything down here, which means it's time to go back up to the shop. We can purchase the moon, buy every single purple item, and put on the Eskimo suit. For the outfit door on the upper level, this is the room with the circular 2D wall, and it's pretty interesting. To start, it makes you do this really precise jump to land on the ledge that sticks out really far. Feels like you have to jump at the last pixel on that pipe for it to work. And once I got up and decided to go for the secret moon, of course I just had to get Kaizo blocked. Classic right there. Now, after actually grabbing that thing, by using the Koopa and kicking him to the ground level, he can take out all the Spinies, which opens up a clear path to be able to get all the shards. So I guess once you're actually in the room, it's pretty simple. But I wasn't done with this place yet, because I needed 1,000 coins for what was coming next, and I had died so many times. So I had to keep going back in a few more times and taking out all of the enemies over and over again. I just wanted to get it done, and this was the fastest method I had. But after some time, I got what I wanted and had enough coins to go back into the shop and buy this amazing outfit. Because we gotta make like the Shiverian racers and show this guy I can dress like them. Definitely not cold wearing this, but I'm still gonna change out of it before we leave. Okay, that is everything for the inside of the kingdom. Just one challenge left for this place. And speaking of dressing like the Shiverian racers, we're going back to that room which I opened at the start because it's time for the other Bound Bowl track. And this challenge, this stupid cursed thing. If there was one moon for this game people warned me about, it was this. But I wanted to see just how bad it was. Well, I tried going around the course like I normally did, but that obviously was not going to get me anywhere close. So I had to learn the shortcuts to get around this place. The way to complete it as fast as possible is actually to cut through the out-of-bounds snow to go past all the ramps in the back. But you can't just blindly go through all of it because you hit what I'm gonna refer to as a Lakitu zone. New Mario Kart coming out soon, I gotta bring up the reference. In order to not hit the Lakitu zone, you have to go up this hill just a bit without letting it push you too far to the left too early. Then a similar trick has to be done at the end where you hop left instead of taking the last giant turn. But if you cut over the hill too sharply, you'll also get teleported back. Just learning this information mention, I was able to fairly quickly beat the Class A moon, but the Class S race... Oh my gosh, the Class S race. Where do I even start? Screw this moon and anyone who thought it was a good idea, because this is the most absurdly difficult thing I've possibly ever done in a video game. Let's go over everything that needs to be done here. You have to bound in the perfect rhythm to hit all of the ramps at just the right angles. You have to throw yourself into the pit of snow and press the button in just such a way that you can hop ahead without losing too much speed. Then go through this tunnel, which throws you around in such unpredictable ways, and you have to hope you're in the right position just to do the last turn properly. And then you have to do all of that again, because unlike the Koopa freerunnings that I struggled with before, this is 3 laps, so you have to do everything perfectly 3 times in a row. And not to mention, it's a minute and a half long, meaning there's so many chances to make even the slightest mistake. Also, another good point that I heard SMO Joy-Con bring up is that the Koopa freerunnings is just standard Mario movement. This is totally different, and nobody should be used to moving in this capture like this because it's not used in any other context. So there is so much to learn to get this done. It was an absolute journey to get through. There are definitely some people out there who doubted if I could even complete this, and I doubted myself as well. I started playing the first day, and it felt like something that I could never get used to. Everything felt sloppy, inconsistent, and I wasn't really enjoying myself. Usually, even when something like this takes hours, I love the thought of sitting down and grinding it out, but it was different in this case. My best time was dropping, sure, but I needed to get at least below 130, and probably even more. It seemed like the only way this was gonna happen is if I somehow got lucky enough to be pushed forward by the other Shiverians. I mean, it happened twice in one race, but only in a blue moon was that gonna help me on a good run. I was up till 4 AM and came up absolutely empty. And not only that, but I had to wake up early the next day, so I barely got any sleep. But I found time to try again and tried for hours once more. Despite being incredibly tired, I had more determination. I switched on my Spotify playlist and just sat there attempting this, watching the times drop even more after a lot of tries. I had gotten more consistent at rolling through the snow and occasionally going around the long ramp just to get some finishes in. Results were being made, but I still had to do better. Once again, I was up for an unhealthy amount of time trying and I couldn't do it. But this time, I could sleep for longer. I fully recharged and immediately returned to playing, knowing that I could do it. The power of sleep seemed to work, as right out of the gate, I got a new PB. PB again, okay. Things seemed to be going pretty well, and while I was still hoping to get a lucky launch off one of them, I started to think I might not need it. Then the biggest revelation I made happened, because I realized going through the tunnel could be a lot faster by short bounding at the start and then riding up the middle before setting up for the last jump. This, combined with all of these small improvements I had made, were obviously helping because I had the biggest PB yet. Oh my god, we skipped 130! We skipped 130 and went right to 129. That is unbelievable. Okay, we are so close. We are in striking distance right now. I was so close. Another attempt like that could win it. And I began doing the math on what time the best laps would have to be. But at the end of the day, it was persistence that was most important. Gosh dang it! Gosh dang it, I'm so close! Second place! With enough practice, you can become perfect. No! No, 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 no! No! After all, a 1 in a million shot becomes a lot more likely if you try a million times. Get in there, get in there! No! No! Are you kidding me? So let's do this. What did all of these hours lead to? Come on. Yes! 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 Ah! Yes! I did it! Oh my gosh, I did it! Oh! Yes! PB'd by 0.01 seconds and somehow it was enough. Oh my gosh, that is insane. That is insane. It's over. All of that is finally over. Class S Moon achieved. That is possibly the most insane thing I've ever done on this channel. Oh my goodness, it is finally done. Man, I really talked about that one for a while, huh? There's so many emotions after that. Some feelings of anger and disgust, but as of right now, the fact that I am done feels so good. To anyone who thought this would be impossible, in your face! I'm gonna say this right now, with the exception of Darker Side, if any moon gives me more trouble than that, I might need therapy. Hopefully, that's the biggest challenge done for a while, and I'm excited to move on. But I'm gonna enjoy this moment right now, so that's all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.